Thanks for your coming. This is the first time we review all the vulnerabilities about the whole remote attack chain toward the Tesla car. Hope you can enjoy it. So firstly, let me introduce ourselves. We are from King Security Lab of Tencent, aka King Lab or King Team. I bet some people here already know us because of the Pontoon and the Android root research. So this is Liu Ling, and this is Du Yuefeng. We are researchers in King Lab who are focusing on the fantastic car hacking research. Today, we are going to talk about our star case, the Tesla remote hacking. Okay. In September last year, we remotely hacked into the Tesla Model S without any physical access. We can control the car in both parking and driving mode. You can also find a demo video and some other information from these links. First thing first, let's talk about how we deliver the exploit without physical access. That's what we say remote hacking. So actually, we found the Qt car browser vulnerability first. Then we found some other tricks to trigger the browser exploit remotely and even seamlessly. So as we all know, the Tesla car can be connected in two modes, the Wi-Fi mode and the 3G mode. When in Wi-Fi mode, there's an interesting story. The Tesla guest is a fixed SSID with a fixed password, which is used in almost every Tesla body shop and superchargers. Most Tesla cars have already saved this SSID, and they will automatically connect to it. Then the Qt car browser gets this network connection event. It will reload its current web page, even when it's running on the background. So we can fake the Tesla guest SSID and then intercept all the traffic into our own crafted domain. So our WebKit exploit will be triggered remotely and even seamlessly. And when in 3G mode, we can try some other tricks. For example, the phishing and user mistyping, because it's a browser-bound attack. It's only restricted by imagination. Next, Liu Ling will share our browser and Linux kernel exploits.
Okay, so the first component we're interested in is the browser, because the browser uses an older version WebKit, which is 534.34. However, it is much harder than we expect to exploit such version WebKit, because Tesla patched all the widely known vulnerabilities which could be used for exploit, and all the vulnerabilities reported by King Team in 2015. So the vulnerability we used is in the member function short of the class JS array. This function mainly does three things. First, copy elements from the storage structure into an AVL tree, then call compare function specified by user in parameter. Last, copy sorted elements back into storage structure. The vulnerability is if in the compare function the method shift or unshift be called, then the memory location of the storage structure will be changed. However, the local variable storage remains the old memory location, resulting in memory corruption. This vulnerability, the root cause of this vulnerability changed after this patch, which changed the local variable storage to member variable m_storage. After this patch, this vulnerability be used in mobile Pontoon and assigned a CVE number. So in Tesla, we faced the first case. The local variable storage remains the old memory location. So we need to find out what we can do by taking advantage of the incorrect address in storage. The storage be used in two places after the compare function called. First, let's focus on the second place. The variable new uses the vector length or respect to the original storage structure, and we can use it to leak some addresses. Before calling sort function, we need to call shift function 3 times to adjust the pointer storage from the start to the middle of the memory buffer, which contains the array storage structure. Then we call sort function, and in the compare function, we unshift the array 3 times. Now the old array storage structure is overlapping with the new array storage structure. And the misaligned length is 24 bytes. In this situation, m_scout length overlaps with the payload of JS value A, and m_scout null values in vector overlaps with the tag of the JS value A. So since the tag determines the type of the element, so when the variable new uses the vector length overwrites the tag, a type confusion bug will be triggered, and the type transforms from shell to double. The double value represents a JS shell address and the length. So we got the double value, we got the JS shell address. Next, we will focus on the first place, the storage used for copying back the sorted elements. And we can use it to make an arbitrary address fast free. So if we call method and shift to add new elements too many times, and the buffer cannot fit the bigger array storage anymore, the function increase vector prefix length will be called to fast malloc a big buffer and fast free the old ones. m_loc base just contains the address need to fast free. So specifically, we shift the array 1 times to make sure the m_loc base overlaps with the payload of JS value A. And when JS value A copying back, m_loc base will be overwrite. The payload of JS value A is the address of the structure we want to fast free. Last, we unshift the array twice to fast free the structure. Now we have the ability to leak some JS shell addresses of any JavaScript object, and we can fast free any address we want to fast free. So to make the exploit more stable, we used another vulnerability. This vulnerability founded by King team, and the poke is very simple. If the argument of import node function is a node created as XHT input, then a type confusion bug will be triggered when the function copy null attribute property doing a static cast. The source type is element with size hex 34, and the destination type is HTML input elements with size 7C. So this is what we do to make an arbitrary read. First, we try to allocate many element structures together on heap, and after the static cast, HTML input element will overlap with two element structures, and M underscore date overlaps with M underscore next. M underscore next points to a brother node structure, and we need M underscore data is a null value 0. Is a null 0 value. So we insert the second and the third element node into a same label as children. Now, M underscore data and M underscore next both points to the third element structure. However, the M underscore data points to a fake string input structure. In this structure, M underscore data always be a fixed value 1, and M underscore length always be a pointer which is big enough for us to read the whole memory. So it is enough to make an arbitrary address read primitive. Just leak the uint 32 array structure and get the just leak the JS shell address of the uint 32 array structure and found the address of the uint 32 array structure. Then fast free this structure to make a UAF immediately to completely control the base address and the length. Now we can write anything to the whole memory space, and we write our shell code to the just-in-time memory space. Finally, we got a shell from the browser. However, the permission is restrictive. The browser is restricted by AppArmor. We can't even list running process. What's worse is the IP tables. We can't connect to any internal ports, so we need to elevate our privilege. Exploiting kernel is a common way. The kernel in CID is very old. Only 2.6. There are many famous vulnerabilities in kernel, and we choose the simple one, also known as put user bug. This bug only exists in ARM architecture, and it is convenient to read or write memory. From the message, we got the address of the kernel, and we fully dumped the kernel. The kernel exploit is straightforward, just corrupt a syscall entry, then call reset security ops function to disable AppArmor. Last, pass this function to get root. Now the CID is completely compromised. So next, Du Yuefeng will talk about the ECU.
Okay. Thanks to Liu Ling, we have just gained the root access of the CID system. Now I'm going to tell you something about the ECU. First, I will give you an introduction of the gateway, which is an important component of our attack surface. And then I will tell how to run customized firmware and codes on it to send messages to other ECUs on the CAN bus. Finally, I will tell you how to affect the real world using those ECUs. So first, here is the gateway. The gateway is the only way to talk between SCCID and other ECUs is in the, between the Ethernet and the CAN bus, so you can only use it to access the CAN bus. It also have, it actually is a power PC chip running RTOS, most likely it's free RTOS. And it contains a SD card, have a FATFS. This is the only source to read and write update software and logs, so you can find some interesting files in it. Here is memory mapping. The first part is the bootloader with some vehicle configurations, and the next part is the gateway software. The last part is the RAM space. Also, the updater will be loaded to this area if necessary. Of course, it can receive some valid IP packets, such as the text shell, the file transfer. However, we are focusing more on the 3400 part using the UDP protocol. It's a diagnostic part. You can see more about it on our previous talk on ZeroNets. So, when we are talking about run our own code or on firmware, the most easy way is OTA upgrading. So, here I will introduce how to run your customized software on it. It contains those parts, the preparation of our upgrade and how to trigger the ECU upgrading. Also, the detailed information of our software upgrade. Then I will tell how to modify to make acceptable software package. You can get a large bundle from OTA. It contains a large set of compiled files, firmwares, and softwares. Those files will be chosen by an updater on the CID, and they will compress into one file, which is release TGZ. We called it ECU software package. And another file contained in the software bundle is no boot image, is the actual updater. Those two files will be transferred to SD card via UDP, along with some other files which are not important. Then, after all those files are transferred, the CID will pull the update trigger. So before we talk about the trigger, let's see the release TGZ. Release TGZ contains two types of files. The first type is hex files. The hex files are firmware files and calibration files. They are named in the ECU name. For example, the firmware for the gateway is gtw.hex. And another file is the manifest file. The manifest file contains some checksum and version infos. You can find the firmware checksums in it. So let's see the update trigger. The update trigger is to send a diagnostic command to UDP port 3500. Which is this string, and when this is sent to the gateway, the normal software on the gateway will check if the no boot image can meet the requirements, which is actually those three files in the block. The files in the yellow box is the CRC32 checksum value. It's calculated by first. You need to fill all bits in the green box to 1, and then calculate the CRC value of the boot image according to the set value in the red box, and then you can compare the result with the original value in the green box. If there miss, the check is passed. And the orange box, the value in the orange box is the negative value of the set. Okay, if those files are accepted, the no boot image will be renamed to boot image, and then the gateway will reboot to process. So you cannot update boot image directly. It's forbidden in the gateway software. And once the gateway restarts, the boot image will be loaded to the start point of the RAM. Then it will run. You can see in the yellow box is actually a jump command for the PowerPC. It will jump to the start point of the purple box. And you can see in the middle, at the offset of 10, is just a length and data for the extra information. So we analyzed the boot image, and we found one of the most important tasks is task read. It will call a function called pattern update. You can find its name in the firmware. It will verify the software package. Actually, the release TTC. It will check the checksum value of release TTC. The checksum value of the package is at the end of the compressed file. Once it's passed, it will also check the firmware files checksums in the manifest file and compare it. If they miss, those firmware files will be sent, and mostly using the UDS protocol we will talk about later. When they are sent, the gateway will rather look and then reboot. However, for GTW hacks, the firmware of the gateway, it will not send. It actually just unlocks the flash area because it's on the same chip. Unlocks the flash area and writes the content directly and then reboot. So it's really feeling bad to show those firmwares because they have no symbol table. However, the big browser, which means Tesla, shared the log file. It really helped a lot. So actually now we can run our own new code by modifying the update software, the boot image. You can just recalculate the CRC checksum value and send it in the name of no boot image and then trigger it. So now at least we can modify or dump the bootloader of gateway to check if there are some extra checks. However, what we want is to run our code permanently, and we don't want to make a gateway not useful. So we need to think about the ECO firmware package. The firmware package contains three things: the manifest file and the softwares, and the checksum value at the end of package, as I have mentioned. So in order to produce a custom package for gateway, we just need to modify the gateway hacks and write a manifest file in the same format and compress into one file and then append the CRC. This is not really hard. However, we can make it more simple by modifying the updater to bypass the verification process of release TTC, so it can save our time. So now, since we have finished those all suffering things, we can get down to our main job about the ECUs. Of course, those ECUs are connected using the CAN bus. And the only way to talk on CAN for CID is gateway. So if you want to open your door using the CID, of course, the CID will send a command to gateway. We found their port is to 2100, and another port also using the UDP protocol. It works by design. However, it's not very great because it limited the channel you can send, and it is not always available, especially if you are driving. Some functions will be disabled. So we focus on the firmware. The firmware has some diagnostic commands, as I have mentioned, and the diagnostic with the ID 4 on the gateway is provided to send CAN messages. It will insert a message in the send buffer and send with other normal instructions. So you can use it. However, it still has some limitations. You cannot send under driving mode. Under driving mode, this function is disabled. So this is really painful. We did some more jobs, reverse engineering, and reverse engineering. We found another function. Here is the process of the diagnostic packet. The diagnostic packet has an ID and it has a content. The ID will be checked by dispatcher and the dispatcher will look it up in a table to find the handler. The handler will do something like argument check and type conventions, and after all these things, it will call the real function, which in here is the fdag1. So in order to finish our job, we just swap the DAG ID. You only change 2 bytes. So now when it receives the diagnostic packet with ID 1, it will actually call the handler of HF DAG4. And then the FDAG4, which is the can message sender, will be called. Now we can send command to turn on or turn off the light while in the driving mode. However, it still has some limitations. Some ECUs just not responding under driving mode. Here is the problem. Some messages will broadcasted on the CAN bus, and as you know, once you send a message on CAN bus, you can't control who can receive it. So, certain ECU will notice the message. For example, they will notice the speed message and disable danger functions if necessary. So we have an idea. If you want to make the message sent to other bus, you need to have a forwarder or something in the gateway. So is there a possible idea to stop the speed information from spreading on the whole CAN network? We found a forwarding table. It will receive messages from CAN bus or from a UTP port and will be sent to other CAN bus or other UTP ports according to the table here. We made some simple modifications, just change a number to block the forwarding process. Now, we can run our own code and we can block messages. We can also send messages. It's time to affect the real world. The protocol used on CAN bus, as you know, is UDF. The UDF have assigned different ID for each type of request and response. For example, the decision control and the reset ECU. We are mainly focusing on the security access. The security access is what you need to unlock the ECU. It works like something like challenge response. You need to send a request to get the security access, and the ECU tell you need a key, and you have some algorithms and input and output and provider key to the ECU. Then the ECU will tell you if the access is granted or denied. So we found a problem is that the key and the seed is fixed in some ECUs and in the gateway, which means you can just replace those packets on the CAN bus. However, if you check it, you will see there it just use the seed and do some operations, XOR operations with 3 files, and then send it back. It's really simple. So based on this algorithm, you can send another key if necessary and write a program. So now, sum up. We can gain a higher access level. We can make some ECUs under driving mode. We can make ESP, for example, under diagnostic mode. And it partially worked. There are no speed info anymore on the IC screen or on the CAN CH bus. And alert info of VBS is displayed on the screen. So now maybe you think you need to drive to a body shop to fix your car. However, now power-assisted steering and braking is also disabled, which means you need to use more force to stop your car. And under high-speed mode, I don't think you can control the car easily. So now we have finished our ECU hacking jobs, and then Yuefeng will come here to introduce the further steps of Tesla and the rest of our research.
Okay, let me give a brief summary. Firstly, we proved that we can gain entrance via Wi-Fi and 3G. Secondly, we used the pontoon style. We use some memory corruption bugs to exploit the browser and the Linux kernel. Then it's time to compromise the CAN bus. Based on our reverse engineering, we bypassed the firmware integrity check and then reprogrammed our crafted gateway firmware. From now on, we can send arbitrary CAN messages to the CAN bus. And we also did research on ABS and ESP. Finally, we can perform some dangerous actions to the car, even when the car is running. After we submitted our research to Tesla, Tesla responded positively. They also gave us a big recognition. For example, Tesla's CTO, JB Straubel, he said that we did a good work, and the whole auto industry should learn from our hacking case. The famous and respectable Chris Evans, at that time he was the security lead of Tesla, he also said that we blindly exploited the Qt car browser, which is impressive. Actually, Charlie Miller, I bet he's also here in this room, right? He also said the similar words. In just 10 days, Tesla released an update package. We are curious about how Tesla fixed our vulnerabilities. When we dig into it, we found something quite interesting. Besides all the corresponding patches, Tesla introduced some new mitigations to protect the in-vehicle systems. Among all these security updates, there are 3 main areas: the browser, the kernel, and the code signing of ECU firmware. From our research, you can see the Qt car browser is the weakest attack surface. However, because of the IP armor and IP tables, attacker almost can do nothing, even he got the browser shell. If he wants to penetrate the CAN bus, he needs a local privilege escalation first. And that's why Tesla introduced multiple ways to protect its system, even when you exploited the browser. Here's a good example, like the proc folder rules. Now Qt car browser process cannot get information from other processes, and it also cannot read information from the proc KL symbols files, which means attacker cannot get the kernel addresses. In order to reach the security bar, Tesla also makes the temp folder non-accessible, and the home browser folder is also non-executable. We have no place to drop our post-exploitation binary. So unless you write the kernel exploit by pure raw gadgets, which is super boring actually. Okay, and nowadays in browser context, we cannot read the message output, so that it's hard to access the leaked info from the kernel, right? Writing the reliable kernel exploits becomes more and more difficult. And the kernel security improvements can be divided into 2 steps, the Linux 2.6 and the Linux 4.4. For the Linux 2.6, Tesla patched all the famous kernel vulnerabilities, including the put user, the evil root, and the dirty car root. I think it's a very good work. If you cannot port your system to the latest kernel, you should learn from Tesla. However, I think it's time-consuming, and sophisticated hackers can always find vulnerabilities from the kernel commit logs. Maybe due to this reason, recently Tesla introduced the new kernel. It's a big step, as the old kernel nearly no mitigations. In fact, the demessage restriction is implemented on the new kernel. The biggest security improvement about the new kernel is the PXN-PAN emulation. The kernel is compiled with the config CPU software domain PAN by default. Based on the page isolation, now kernel context is unable to access user mode addresses. That is to say, attacker cannot read, write, and execute the user mode data or code. Here is the picture. You can find a typical kernel panic log because of the PAN. Now it's very hard to write a reliable kernel exploit. You can no longer hijack the PC value to user mode and do whatever you want. After we bypassed the integrity check and reprogrammed our own firmware, Tesla introduced the code signing mechanism to protect this kind of attack. Nowadays, code signing is heavily used in Tesla car. You can find the signature data in different files, like the OTA package, the ECU firmware, and so on. Code signing is mainly used in the OTA update process to protect the ECU from executing the unauthorized code. As we all know, ECU is a very small computing unit. It cannot check the signature of its own. So, because of the existing architecture of Tesla's CAN bus, Tesla implemented its code signing in a special way. As Du Yuefeng mentioned, CID transferred two important files, the boot image and the release TGZ, into the gateway. Gateway checks the signature of the boot image file. Once it is passed, gateway will turn into the update mode, load the boot image file into RAM and execute it. Boot image will load the release TGZ, which contains all the firmwares of the updatable ECU. It checks the signature one by one. Once passed, boot image will reprogram the corresponding ECU via UDS protocol. Okay, so on June 22nd, we reported our new research to Tesla. We call it the Tesla Hacking 2017. Tesla responded and fixed all these new bugs in version 17.26.0. Most of Tesla cars have been OT'd now. I must say that in the Tesla Hacking 2017, there are some creative points. We can reproduce all the effects we did last year. After Tesla introduced the new Linux kernel, we find and exploit a zero-day vulnerability to root the kernel as well. Last but not least, we bypassed the code signing mechanism. Now we can run our customized ECU firmware on the CAN bus. We believe that hacking should have fun, so that this year we did a really interesting demonstration on the Tesla car. Let's take a look. Okay, let me explain it. Play the customized music show is not as easy as we thought. Actually, we need to utilize all our vulnerabilities to hack into multiple ECUs. And we also need to find the critical data in different ECU firmwares to control the lights and the doors. Based on that, finally we made the Tesla Model X to perform this music show. Okay? Okay. Okay, thank you all. Is there any questions?
I have a couple questions, actually.
Okay.
You mentioned that ECUs have fixed seed and keys, right? Do all of them have fixed seed and keys, or just the gateway module?
Some important ECUs do have fixed seed and keys.
So how is a remote attack possible if you don't know the seed and key of that particular vehicle?
I know what you mean. For different vehicle, the seed and key is the same. You know what I mean?
So it's the same seed and key for every single vehicle?
You mean for every single ECU?
Yeah.
No.
But how, you said that you can remote attack a different vehicle, but if you don't know the seed and key, how can you attack it for that vehicle?
Let me clarify fast. So you mean different vehicle or different ECU and components?
Different ECU, yeah.
For different ECUs, there might be different seed and key.
That's what I'm saying, is how do you know the seed and key of that vehicle?
Here is a problem. The problem is that some...
I think in different vehicles, the seed and key is the same. Do you think so?
他说的是不同的 ECU.
Okay. No. In different ECUs, the key and the seed is different.
不一定.
Okay.
Uncertain. It's uncertain yet. You know, the time is limited.
Okay, so the other question I had is, what stops you from removing that module? Because you said you're attacking it through the gateway module. Can you remove the gateway module and program it directly outside of the car or any other ECU?
It's possible. It's possible, but we didn't do it because we want to keep the environment clean and we want to make sure it's acceptable on the car. We think some other factors, if you remove the ECU from the car, might affect our result.
Okay. So the .hex files that contain the firmware, are those internally signed or have you not reverse engineered those?
You mean it's internal files, right?
So does the ECU itself check its own firmware for signing?
No, I do not think so, because the ECU is a very small computing unit, like I said, so it cannot check its own. That's why they implemented this mechanism in the gateway ECU.
Okay, so if you sniff the process of writing,
I understand what you are saying
directly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I have a question.
Okay.
So when you
why not we go to the ramp room and have a talk? Thank you.